Sorry. Salamin.
Ladies and gentlemen, today being the day fixed by the Constitution for the convening of Congress of the Philippines for its first regular session once a year, the first session of the second regular session of the Senate in the 19th Congress is hereby called to order. We'll be led today in prayer by our distinguished colleague, Senator J.V. Ejercito.
Behold, Almighty Father, we come before you as your humble servants and as slaves to your righteousness. As we set out to perform our mandate in this second regular session of the 19th Congress, use our hands to build your kingdom here on earth and prepare a place for your eternal rule. Bring our house together and unite our nation in faith and in love, for every kingdom divided against itself will be ruined, and every city or household divided against itself will not stand. With obedience, all the words that you have spoken, we will do. To our work as lawmakers, we embody and fulfill your greatest commandments, that is, to love you, our God, with all our hearts, all our souls, and all our mind, and to love our neighbors as ourselves. May our efforts give justice to the weak and the parentless, and maintain the rights of the afflicted and the destitute. May our compassion prevail in this august chamber as we take up the cause of the poor farmer, the weary laborer, the despairing victims of disaster and armed conflict, those of us enduring hardship in foreign lands, those deprived of the simplest of needs, and those suffering from abuse, exploitation, and indignity every day. It is our hope that these laws, along with those that you have given through the prophets, would serve as the cornerstone of a just and humane society where truth, justice, freedom, love, equality, and peace shall reign forever. In upholding these laws, may your way, truth, and light continue to reside in the hearts of our President, his cabinet, our uniformed men and women, and our public servants in all levels of government. Keep them in good health and secure them from all harm, so that they may proceed with faith and courage in our difficult fight against poverty, unemployment, homelessness, illiteracy, criminality, drug abuse, economic sabotage, disinformation, and foreign aggression. Panginoon, naway malagpasan ng aming bayan ang lahat ng mga problema at pagsubok na aming kinakaharap. Palagi po ninyo kaming gabayan dito sa Senado sa pagpapasa ng mga batas na makapagpapabuti sa antas at mag-aangat ng kalidad ng buhay ng bawat Pilipino. Gayon din naway magtagumpay inyong awa at katwiran laban sa aming mga kasalanan at pamunuan ng inyong pagmamahal, ang aming puso't isipan hanggang sa inyong muling pagbabalik. Sa araw na iyon, Panginoon, ikaluwalhati ka namin, magpakailanman, kasama ang iyong mga anghel sa langit. Amen.
Amen. Please remain standing for the singing of the Philippine National Anthem and the Senate hymn, Senadong Marangal, by the Philippine Philharmonic Orchestra String Octet and Miss Bernadette Mamawag.
At bundok sa simoy at sa langit mong bughaw, may dilagang tula at awit sa paglayang minamahal. Ang gisap ng watawat mo'y tagumpay na nagniningning, ang bituin at araw niya kailan pa may di magdidilim. Lupa ng araw ng walhatit pagsinta, mo'y langit sa piling mo. Aming ligaya na pagmamahal, Puso at diwa ng Senado ang katuwirang, isa batas ang bithiing makabayan. Filipino'y maligayang nabubuhay sa kalinga ng paglayat katarungan. O Senado ng marangal at matatag, malakas at di umuko sa dayuhan. Pag ang bigkis nito'y bansang nasa batas, tuloy-tuloy at matuwid ang pagunlad. O Senado ng marangal at matatag, malakas at di umuko sa dayuhan. Pag ang bigkis nito'y bansang nasa batas, tuloy-tuloy at matuwid ang pagunlad.
Secretary, please call the roll of members.
Roll call of members. The Honorable Senator Angara, Senator Binay, Senator Cayetano Alan, Senator Cayetano Pia, Senator De La Rosa, Senator Ejercito, Senator Escudero, Senator Estrada, Senator Gatchalian, Senator Go, Senator Ontiveros, Senator Lapid, Senator Legarda, Senator Marcos, Senator Padilla, Senator Pimentel, Senator Poe, Senator Revilla, Senator Tolentino, Senator Tulfo, Senator Villanueva, Senator Villar Cynthia, Senator Villar Mark, the Senate President.
With 23 senators present, the chair declares presence of a quorum. Before I recognize the majority floor leader, I would just like to greet him a happy wedding anniversary. Today, happy wedding anniversary, Majo. Together with your wife, Gladys is here with us as well. And I'd also like to congratulate, before I start, the Senate Sentinels basketball team for winning the championship game last night against the Philippine National Police. Headed, of course, by our majority leader, Joel Villanueva, and the phenomenal basketball shooting skills of Sani Angara and Senator Bongo, and the rest of the team, of course. So, Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. Thank you very much. Mr. President, at this juncture, I move that we consider proposed Senate Resolution number 681. I so move, Mr. President.
There being no objection, the motion is approved. Consideration of proposed Senate Resolution number 681 is now in order. The Secretary will read the title and text of the resolution.
Resolution informing the House of Representatives that a quorum is present in the Senate and that this body has entered upon the exercise of its functions for the second regular session of the 19th Congress of the Philippines.
Mr. President, I move that we adopt proposed Senate Resolution number 681. So move, Mr. President.
Is there any objection? There being none, proposed Senate Resolution 681 is hereby approved and adopted.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, at this juncture, I move that we consider proposed Senate Resolution number 682.
There being no objection, the motion is approved. Consideration of the proposed Senate Resolution number 682 is now in order. The Secretary will read the title of the measure.
Resolution informing President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. that a quorum is present in the Senate and that this body has entered upon the exercise of its functions for the second regular session of the 19th Congress of the Philippines.
Mr. President, I move that we adopt proposed Senate Resolution number 682. So move, Mr. President.
There being no objection, the motion is approved.
Mr. President, we are in a receipt of a message from the House of Representatives. May I ask the Secretary to read the message for the record?
The Secretary is directed to read the message.
House Concurrent Resolution number 15. Concurrent resolution providing for the Senate and the House of Representatives to hold a joint session to hear the message of the President of the Republic of the Philippines.
Mr. President, I move that we consider House Concurrent Resolution number 15.
There being no objection to the motion, consideration of House Concurrent Resolution number 15 is now in order, and the Secretary has already read the measure, therefore we move to adopt the measure.
Yes, Mr. President, and so I move that we adopt House Concurrent Resolution number 15.
There being no objection to the motion, House Concurrent Resolution number 15 is adopted.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. President, at this juncture, I move that we consider Senate Concurrent Resolution number 12.
There being no objection to the motion of the Majority Floor Leader, the concurrent resolution number 12 is now in order, and we'd like to ask Secretary to read the title of the measure.
Concurrent resolution creating a joint committee of the Senate and the House to notify the President of the Philippines that Congress, now convened for its second regular session of the 19th Congress of the Philippines, is ready to hear his State of the Nation address in a joint session of both houses.
Mr. President, I move that we adopt Senate Concurrent Resolution number 12.
There being no objection to the motion, Senate concurrent resolution number 12 is hereby adopted.
Appointment of
The notifying committee pursuant to the joint concurrent resolution that was just adopted, I hereby appoint to the Joint Notification Committee on the part of the Senate President Pro Tem, Lauren Legarda, distinguished Senate President Pro Tem, and Senators Joel Villanueva, Cynthia Villar, and Senator Amy Marcos.
Mr. President, ladies and gentlemen of the Senate, we are now ready to listen to an address from the Senate President.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, my distinguished colleague. Before I read my speech, I would like to, of course, acknowledge the presence of the diplomatic community headed by our Papal Nuncio, Most Reverend Charles John Brown. Sir, always a pleasure to see you, together with all the ambassadors from the different embassies of the country. And former senators are here as well with us. Our distinguished colleague, former Senate President Frank Drilon, who has not been amiss in his cheering last night with the basketball team, watching the basketball team, and together with Senator Francisco Tatad is here with us as well, and all the other former members of the Senate, together with members of the cabinet that are here with us as well. Pleasant good morning to all. It is my pleasure to welcome you all in the Senate. To my colleagues, I share your enthusiasm as we assemble again in this great arena of democracy, where ideas that propel the nation forward are made. To all of us here, let me make this clear. We are not resuming work because in the first place, we never took a break from it. Rather, we are revving up work because much remains to be done. Hindi po ito muling pagbubukas ng Senado dahil hindi naman po tayo tumigil sa ating trabaho. Ang huminto lang ang aksyon sa plenaryo, pero tuloy-tuloy ang serbisyo. Nagdinig tayo ng magagandang bills, nag-imbestiga ng mga masasamang gawain, nagbigay tulong sa mga may pangangailangan. To cite a few, Senator Bato de la Rosa has clinically exposed the lies of police officers involved in the 6.7 billion drug bust. Their tales were so unbelievable that one gets the impression that they've probably gotten high on their own supply. Senator Grace Poe, harping on the endless woes of the NAIA, or the Ninoy Aquino Inconvenience Airport, and the MWSS, or the Metropolitan Waterless Service System, is oversight vigilance at its sharpest. Senator Francis Tolentino has looked under the hood of the LTO to untangle its manifold of problems. On this, let me echo our people's frustration. At a time when the world is rolling out driverless cars, we are stuck in a state of licenseless drivers. Senator Nancy Binay has picked up the cudgels for air travelers waiting in airport for days for flights that take just an hour. Smugglers may run rings around customs people, but they cannot run past the solid wall of research and tough questioning of Senator Cynthia Villar and Amy Marcos. Senator Raffy Tulfo has probed deep in the costs of power outages in many places and the mental blackouts of those who caused them, as well as protecting the rights of our overseas and migrant workers. Senator Alan Cayetano has also called hearings on e-governance and why our internet remains slow and spotty. While our investigations make for great TV, we launch them not for show, but for solutions. When we exercise our oversight powers, we do so primarily to correct laws. If, however, in the process it sends culprits to the correctional, then it is a welcome bonus. The bulk of committee work done here, however, may not be sensational, but nonetheless substantive. The fact is, most important pieces of legislation do not trend nor scream headlines, but at the end of the day, these proposals are what the country needs. Like what EDCOM 2 of Senator Win Gatchalian is doing, which is diagnosing what ails our schools so that when it comes to teaching our young, they will not be the last, the least, and the lost. His counterpart for higher education, Senator Chis Escudero, has also brought to the plenary a raft of bills that will raise the competency of our graduates in a highly competitive world. Senator Bong Revilla has been championing teachers' causes, and the House should act on his teaching supplies allowance bill. Senator Sani Angara has the energy of a startup tech in finding ways to ignite the full potential of our nation's creative industries. Senate President Pro Temp Lauren Legarda's tapestry of art and cultural initiatives, which, together with her quilt of environmental initiatives, should comfort us in this climate of constant change. Oo nga, tapos na ang COVID health emergency. Pero patuloy ang trabaho nila Senator Bongo at Senator Pia Cayetano na pagandahin ang public health system. And for Senator Pia, in her work as Chair of Sustainable Development and Futures Thinking, fits the description of a statesperson, one who thinks of the next generation and not of the next election. Senator Jinggoy Estrada is busy on two defense fronts, military and labor. The first to protect our sovereignty against threats, and the second to guard our working man's rights from being eroded. Another good one, as they are both good, another good one of a lawmaker, Senator JV, is likewise juggling three major concerns adeptly: empowerment of local governments, housing for the people, and on the economic front, the public-private partnership bill. Patuloy naman ang pagsisikap ni Senator Robin Padilla upang ang karapatan ng mamamayan sa malayang impormasyon at ng mga kapatid nating Muslim at indigenous peoples sa kaunlaran ay matugunan natin. Ang ganong sipag ay napakita din ni Senator Lito Lapid sa maraming usapin, pero lalo na sa masalimuot na mga issue na sakop ng kanyang Committee on Games and Amusements. Senator Mark Villar has brought to this chamber the nobility of his work ethic, cool, calm, and collected, which we saw when he was defending the Maharlika Investment Fund. A Senate without fiscalizers loses its potency and forfeits its credentials as a democratic body. In our Minority Leader Coco Pimentel and Deputy Minority Leader Risa Ontiveros, we find a vigilant opposition who do not obstruct, but critique constructively their inputs, resulting in better laws. And the person on the floor umpire and consensus builder who traffics these bills and resolutions in one seamless assembly line, shepherding them from committee to plenary, is our distinguished majority floor leader, Joel Villanueva, who's celebrating his anniversary today. Today, we open regular session the way it has been set by tradition and by the Constitution, by listening to the President assess the nation and account himself. This reckoning should give us bearing on where we are now and where we should be heading, of work done and promises yet to be redeemed. His take on things may differ with us. His can be rosy, ours can be restrained, or in certain issues, we may be upbeat and he will be subdued. But we do agree on the most important point, that the Senate has a major role to play in conquering the challenges before us. As expected, the President will use the pulpit this afternoon to dare us to act on his wish list. And like the men and women who sat in this chamber before us, let us respond in true Senate fashion. We will improve the bills before we approve them. We will purge the bad provisions and replace them with the good. But the Senate is not a mere processor of policies originating from the other branch. We also nurture our own, whether bills with far-reaching effects that overhaul systems to help people burdened by rules that are too old or too many, or bills that bring fast-acting relief to those who are in distress, victims of disasters, for example, and the number of which is growing. In tackling bills, let us bear in mind that these are not the President's request, but the people's request. Some of these may not be what we want, but they are what the country needs. To a people scarred by the recent pandemic, never must we be caught flat-footed again. Let us pass the bills creating the Center for Disease Control, Virology Institute of the Philippines, and the Medical Reserve Corps. To farmers who feed other people but cannot feed their own, let us pass a stronger anti-agricultural smuggling law so that the flood of imports will not drown the crops that they grow. To taxpayers burdened by tax rules too complicated, inflicted by men who can change them at will, let us pass the ease of paying taxes bill. To the land suffocated by garbage, let us pass the waste to energy bill so that trash can power the very homes where it came from. To seafarers battling the elements, loneliness, unsafe working conditions, let us pass a Magna Carta that will serve like a safe harbor that will protect them. To people looking for jobs, let the National Employment Action Plan be the guide towards gainful employment in which fair work is rewarded with fair play. To those who toil starvation wages, let us put ourselves in their shoes, provide relief for their families, and pass the long-awaited across-the-board legislative wage hike. To a citizenry which the internet is a boon, let us end the bane of bureaucratic red tape, and like an app, E-Governance Act is in need of an update. To consumers who source goods online, let us firewall them against scams which the Internet Transaction Act will put up. Let us debug the commerce platform with its Budol virus. To a country whose sovereignty has been disrespected, we will pass a bill that will modernize our defenses. Marami pang batas na kailangan pandayin. Sample lang po ang ating binanggit, and we have our plate full and our calendars filled. On top of these is the 2024 national budget, which we will scrutinize minutely from morning to midnight, as it has been in the past, which can, because we senators are champion multitaskers. Every measure bound for the President's desk will pass through our quality control. Not a single bill will be enrolled unless it is fundable or shovel or roll out ready. Every bill carries a price tag which should not be hidden, as they are either paid by taxes we pay today or left to our children to settle whose future has been mortgaged. We will keep the faith in an independent Senate, but with independence comes the grit to make the hard decisions. We will sail against the wind, so to speak, even meeting headlong the gust of public opinion, and to stay the course for as long as we know that we are right. So those unpopular but correct, we will defend. The plenary's mood should not be dictated by any political weather vane. We will respect the collegial nature of our institution, and we will seek consensus and compromise whenever possible, or divide the House if needed. We will debate because a legislature which no longer does ceases to be the country's highest deliberative body. The Senate will remain a civic space, a safe civic space where anyone can come to market his or her views. And how do we measure the value of our labors and the common good of our policies that we've created? We will measure growth not in terms of gross values of wealth created, but in terms of houses built and energized, of meals on tables, of students with diplomas, of employees with decent jobs and livable wages, of crime rates reduced, of the bounty of farm harvest, of faster internet speed, of reasonable market prices of goods, or shorter commuting time. Hindi ito Senado na lunod sa numerong walang saysay o lutang sa katotohanan. Sa halip, lubog tayo sa taong bayan na siyang nagbibigay lakas sa institusyong ito. Suklian natin ang kanilang tiwala ng tunay na serbisyo, ng tapat ng panunungkulan, ng totoong pagpapaliwanag ng mga bagay, ng tapang sa pagwawasto ng mali. Sa tulong ng Diyos at bayan, magtatagumpay tayo. Mabuhay ang Senado, mabuhay ang sambayanan Pilipino. Thank you very much. Majority Leader.
Thank you, Mr. President. You are our inspirational leader. At this juncture, Mr. President, ladies, Mr. President, before we suspend the session, may we request our colleagues to remain at the session hall for the photo session. And Mr. President, there being no further business, I move that we suspend the session until 4 o'clock this afternoon, at which time we shall reconvene at the session hall of the House of Representatives to hear the State of the Nation address of President Ferdinand R. Marcos Jr. in a joint session of both houses of Congress. And when we adjourn the joint session, the session of the Senate shall be considered adjourned until tomorrow, July 25, 2023 at 3 o'clock in the afternoon.
Is there any objection to the motion of the Majority Floor Leader? There being none, the motion is approved. Session is suspended until 4 o'clock this afternoon for the joint session of Congress. The members of the Senate are advised to proceed to and be seated at the session hall of the House of Representatives by or before 3:30 p.m. After the joint session, the session of the Senate shall be considered adjourned until tomorrow, July 25, 2023 at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. The session is now suspended until 4 o'clock this afternoon. God bless us all.
Thank you, Mr. President.